On this Money Monday, we're continuing our series on student financial aid with our guest, Patick Ziegler, independent advisor representative at Innovative Advisory Group, to talk about finding the free money that is floating around out there. My two favorite words, Patick, money and free.
You and everyone else, Layla.
Where do we find it?
So this is actually a common misnomer here, or maybe that's not the right word, but it's something that's commonly misunderstood by families because they hear a lot about scholarships and they think they should be going out to scholarship search engines and applying for all sorts of scholarships, completing applications here, there, and everywhere, and that's going to help them close that gap with their remaining tuition bill. But the reality is about 40% of free money, grants and scholarships, comes from the federal government. So that comes right from that FAFSA application we talked about in our last session. And that's why completing that application on time and accurately is so important. But then the second place that most of that free money comes from, actually the colleges and universities themselves. About 39%, depending on the study you read, will come from the college or university and what they call tuition discounting. So what that means for families, two things really. The first, you need to do your homework. So when the student develops a list of colleges they're interested in, obviously we should be looking at academics. We should be looking at the urban or rural profile of the school, the size of the campus, depending what it is that the student is looking for and where they'd be most comfortable so that they can be most successful. Of course, that's all true, but you also need to include that financial component. And what that means is, as much as you should be looking at where your student is tracking over the course of their high school career academically, you should also be looking at where you track financially. And that means doing your homework on the college websites and not just looking at the majors and the clubs and the dorms and the food. Yeah. You should be looking at how much they offer in scholarships. And I'll tell you this, we are increasingly seeing when we talk to families and they suggest a few schools that their child is looking at, that if you go out to their websites, they will not only tell you the scholarships they offer, but increasingly you will see grids that will show you exactly where you fall depending on your GPA, your SAT, or your ACT. They may tell you right out the gate, you qualify for a certain scholarship so long as you're accepted. So you really need to dig in, do your homework, draw out a long list of schools like we talked about last week. Keep that list very lengthy, cast a wide net, and look at each website and find out what they're offering in scholarships and grants, because that's where you're going to find about 39% of that free money. It's
and what about scholarships does your own income play into this? Can you be denied a scholarship if you make a certain amount of money, or is it all on merit?
Yeah, it's a great question. So scholarships typically are merit-based. So we generally call need-based aid grants, merit-based aid based on athletics or academics, music, fine arts, scholarships. Now, that's not to say that there may not be some overlap there. You will see schools, even if they offer a scholarship, they will probably ask you to complete the FAFSA, and there could be a need component, but by and large, grants are need-based aid, scholarships are merit-based aid. And most schools will offer some combination of the two, and that's why when you apply to a college or university, get all those applications in, the financial aid applications and the scholarship applications, because most aid awards will be comprised of some combination of both.
And those aren't the only places to find free money. There are all kinds of rocks that you need to turn over, whether it's, you had mentioned, through your church, through various companies. There are myriad ways in which you can locate free money, and some unconventional places that you'd never think to look.
Yeah. So I'd say one of the most conventional to start there, because you mentioned all of these different scholarships that you can find, and they're typically going to be smaller dollar when you look at the local level. But the reality is every $500,000, $2,000, or $2,500 scholarship adds up. And when you start with your high school guidance office, when you start with your local church or religious organization, when you start with your local Kiwanis or Rotary or other clubs or organizations you or maybe your parent is involved with, you find that there are a lot of small dollar scholarships out there that can add up quickly, and there's typically a lot less competition. So make sure you're tapped into your guidance office. Quite often, they will be a great warehouse of scholarship opportunities right within your local community. Now, in terms of less known opportunities for free money, one of those is actually your employer. Now, it could be the parent employer. It could be that they offer scholarships for dependent students. But you're starting to see more and more companies that are actually offering a tuition assistance program to their employees because the companies themselves recognize just how high the cost of college is and how burdened by student loan debt so many graduates are.
Yes.
So you can even look for a job where they might help you pay your college tuition.
Right. We were talking about Starbucks. There are billboards out there saying that they will pay up to 100% of your tuition if you come to work for them. So sometimes it might actually pay to pick those particular employers to work just so you get the benefit of free tuition. And we're excited to see you back next week, Patrick, when we're going to be talking about student loans. So filling in those gaps where we don't necessarily fill them with grants or scholarships.
That's right. Thanks so much, Layla. Looking forward to it.
We'll do it then. We're back after this.